Welcome to another edition of the Daily Deming, where we explore foundational principles shared by William Edwards Deming, the father of the Japanese economic miracle. You can find a link to the video below where we describe a little bit more about him. But today we're going to share one of his quotes, which is manage the cause, not the result. It is very easy in business for us to scapegoat and want to put out a fire quickly and blame essentially the thing that is near the issue. Deming was a big fan of making sure we discover the actual causes of the thing we don't like in our business and going back to these root causes and not blaming something at a certain stage where we just sort of observe the issue. You can see this with employees where you might have an employee that's not doing a very good job. You can see this with equipment. Maybe a piece of equipment is not functioning properly, or always look into the problem. In business, it's so easy to sort of have an emergent kind of stress, anxiety response to issues. But we want to stay relaxed, we want to stay calm, and we want to dig into the problem and figure out what's going on. An example that might come up in a situation like what Deming was dealing with is sort of the assembly line process. So it's very interesting to look at assembly lines because it really is a way to take this concept of a system, which is somewhat vague sometimes and sort of non-contextual, and actually see it, right? So an assembly line is a system that you can walk through, and there's steps, and there's different pieces of equipment, there's different people doing different tasks, and there's all these things that can happen. Well, there's different times, for each of these segments in an assembly line. There's different skill sets. And sometimes you can find that actually one part of the assembly line can be going faster, going better than you would expect. And that can lead to a section of the assembly line where you have a pileup because the lead times of each component of the assembly line are no longer corresponding to each other. Ideally, what you want is like a smooth flow of the parts all the way through the assembly line, and then one person at one stage, would not get this bottleneck there because what this is an example of is you might blame that person who's got this pileup of parts that they're not keeping up. But in reality, the system is supposed to make sure there's an appropriate timing for every element in the assembly line. Every portion of the assembly line should have its own lead time that's appropriately compensated for, and they should be delivered apart in the same sort of time frame as they extend apart so that they don't get this bottleneck. And if you see that, it would be easy as an owner to say that person is slacking off, they're not meeting spec or whatever, when in reality, something actually earlier up in the line maybe got way more productive, and now you're just seeing the impact of that because the timing is off. So we can see that happen in a lot of different ways in business where we want to especially dig into the issue, try to figure out all the things that are causes. The big lesson in business is that there's no one thing that we do right. It's typically hundreds, thousands, or millions of things that are done well that lead to a business functioning well. And that's what we talk on and on and on about systems. So hope this has been helpful. Stay tuned for more Daily Deming as we explore the foundational principles explored by William Edwards Deming, shared by William Edwards Deming. And we hope to see you down the road again.